Hi everyone, I just wanted to say at the beginning that for anyone like me who's waiting for the 12-inch vinyl release of this new album, it's not out yet. It won't be out till November 18th, I believe is the date. And for now, you just have to make do with the compact disc, which is what this review is based on. Thanks. Hi everyone, I want to talk about a brand new release. It's actually a reissue of an album that hasn't been out in almost 40 years, in 1977. It's a brand new CD, Beatles live at the Hollywood Bowl, and it's really exciting. Remastered, redone from the album that was done in '77. This is to coincide with a movie that's going to be coming out. A lot of you have heard about, I'm sure. Ron Howard directing 8 Days a Week, Beatles the Touring Years, or words to that effect. I wanted to get this the first day of release, and before I talk a little more about it, I'm going to show you the packaging, which I'm not really wild about, but now that I actually have it in my hands, it's not as poor as I thought. It's actually a good photo, a good shot of the band. It's nice. What's kind of disappointing about it is the obvious tie-in to the movie. It's the poster. It says 8 Days a Week, and it's an advertisement for the film. Here's the back. Little gatefold. You have the tickets reproduced to the concerts. You've got a little ad here telling you that 8 Days a Week, the movie, is going to be available on DVD and Blu-ray in November of 2016. And for those of you who can't wait, try to see it at a theater. That's a whole other topic, but the movie's going to be shown very limited engagement in certain theaters. If you go on a certain website, I think it's 8 Days a Week, Beatles.com or something to that effect. Do enough Google searching, you'll find out a theater in your area that's going to show the movie. Also, we have a booklet here, front, back, and a lot of photos and all kinds of information about the concerts and making this particular re-release. They also have at the end the liner notes from 1977 that George Martin did. You know, anybody not familiar with the old album from 1977, maybe some of the younger people, I don't know. This is what it was. This is a 12-inch LP, of course. Beatles at the Hollywood Bowl, came out in '77. You know, it's funny, if I can just interject for a minute. I remember going with my best friend, now deceased. I was 15 and he was 14. And in 1977, we went to get this album when it first came out. I can still remember it. There's the back cover, the old one. And it's funny because it was so exciting because you didn't really have live Beatles albums out like this before, right? So it was a big deal. But when you think about it, you know, this album and also the new one that we're talking about here, you know, actually has two different concerts joined together, the best bits of them, I guess you'd say. A 1964 August Hollywood Bowl concert, and the Beatles also did two concerts in '65. So to make this, they just took songs from the best sources of both and kind of mishmashed them together. And you wouldn't really know, I don't think, unless you were told or read about it. From what I hear, the August 1964 show was in good shape. But out of the two 1965 concerts, one of them is mic'd very badly. You don't hear, I believe it's Paul and George on the mic on one of the shows, and John you can hear. So one of the 65 shows is not really that usable. The other one is. So you got a good 64 and a good 65 really to work with. So getting back to this and telling you about that day in '77 when I actually bought this with my friend. We loved it at the time, but it's weird to think that at the time, the Beatles, even then, even in '77, the Beatles seemed like something from so long ago, ancient, nostalgic history, that when you thought about it and think about it now, it's actually, '64 was only 13 years ago at the time when this came out. 1965 was only 12 years ago. That's not long at all. Just think now that this new release blows me away to think that this release is 3 times as old as the Beatles were when this came out. Does that make any sense? This album is 3 times older now than the actual concerts were at the time. All right, now that that's all out of the way, so what is there to say about it? Well, this material was originally recorded by Capitol Records in the 60s. It was intended to be released. They were going to make a live album. They actually intended to do that. And it was on a 3-track recording, whereas I believe Shea Stadium is a 2-track recording. But this was a 3-track. And for so long in the 60s, and I guess most of the 70s, it was felt that they really couldn't get a product out of this because of the fact that you heard too much screaming. The screams by the fans went constantly through the whole recording, and I guess by ancient times it wasn't really, something considered releasable. But in 1977, as history shows now, George Martin came on board and put this out, and was able to make a good product out of it and have the vocals and the instruments up front and reduce the screams. Well, now we have this, which I think takes it even a step better. Now, there's already been a lot of early reviews on here. I've listened to some shows, some podcasts online by good, reputable Beatles fans and experts that I respect and admire. And one of the buzzes about this new album was that the reverb was really too much. Now, I played the whole CD already, and I'll tell you that the quality, at least in the car, I think the car system is really good. Okay, and it won't hide anything that's wrong with it. But I thought it sounded great. I'd heard so much nightmare stuff about, too much reverb. For the record, there was originally reverb even on the '77 album. People have said that there's more on here. I don't know. I maybe a little more, but it doesn't ruin it for me. I mean, some people said it makes them sound too much like they're singing out of a indoor concert hall or something like that. I don't see any problem with it. Another one of the stories about this, early advanced stories, was that supposedly the screams of the audience were digitally edited out completely. That's not true at all. The screams are all there. It's also been said, at least, that the screams have been subdued somewhat. And I think they did a great job. I mean, personally, I'm in the camp that believes this is a historic concert, or 2 concerts. If you're going to try to retain the thrill and the excitement of Beatlemania of the 60s, they screamed during the shows. The girls and the young guys there, everybody, they went crazy and wild, and it was all pandemonium. So you can hear very clearly. That's the one thing I want to emphasize. Don't think this is a bad recording bootleg, because it's not. You can hear the vocals very loud and clear, and you can hear the instruments too. It's not an old bootleg recording. This is the real deal. It's very well done, very well recorded, very well mastered. This one done by George Martin, who passed away this year. His son Giles Martin took care of the duties here, and I think he did a good job. I was a little worried about it, hearing about reverb and this and that, and screams being gone. Nothing of the kind. Playing it, I thought this just sounds fabulous. I'm thrilled with it. I really enjoyed it. And what I noticed about it most is that it's so exciting. And for people out there who think that the Beatles weren't rock and roll, just pop, listen to this album. They rock on some of these songs. It is real heavy rock. And I've heard that the instruments were kind of like worked on here a little bit, like, as far as like being better in the mix so you could hear them better. That's one of the stories I'd heard. I can tell you, I noticed Ringo's drums, thankfully, are really up front. You can hear the drumming really good. He's really great in here. I thought, if I was going to criticize one little thing, I thought the guitars weren't as discernible as they could have been. Maybe I would have liked to hear the other instruments a little more. I don't know. But the singing and the drumming, it's great. It's really enjoyable. What else can I say about it? I have some notes here that I was preparing just so I wouldn't forget to mention certain things. One different thing about this is that you have 4 bonus tracks that were not originally on the old 1977 edition of this. The 4 bonus tracks are after the concert. They're not integrated and mixed into the show. After the actual disc is over, you have the 4 bonus tracks separately. And the songs are You Can't Do That and I Want to Hold Your Hand. Both of those are from the 1964 appearance. And then you have 2 songs from '65, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby and Babies in Black. Now, the only thing, again, you know, it's hard to quibble because I personally enjoyed the hell out of this when I was playing it. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. I don't play the Hollywood Bowl that often, but this was really good. I can't emphasize that enough. Some people are complaining, and I can see why, that, well, should they have taken those 4 songs and mixed them into the concert instead of just throwing them on it, tagging them on at the end as extras? I would have liked if they found a way to segue them in there. I think it would have been more enjoyable if they could have somehow have put them into the actual show proper. But the other, as it stands, the other quibble with it, now that we have them 4 separate tracks, the question is, what about the order of the tracks? The last track on this collection, if you want to listen to it straight through as I did, is Babies in Black, and that's how the disc ends. And that's a lousy way to end the disc. If there was some way they could have, I would have flipped them around and put Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby as the last track, because at least that fits the end, because you're used to it on albums like Beatles 65, Beatles for Sale. I mean, you're used to it being at the end of the album, really. More or less. And you know, it's funny, I mean, I'm some fan I am. I can't even remember off the top of my head if it's on the end of, if it's the last track on Beatles for Sale on either side. God, I can't believe I can't think of that now. But sometimes you have a brain fart, as they say. But anyway, Everybody's Trying to Be My Baby would have worked, if anything, better as the closing track, if you were going to do that. But again, I can't quibble. This is a nice job. It sounds fantastic, I think. And it's important, too, because this is really going to be the only live item from the Beatles out there. I'm so glad that it's out there for people who've never heard it before to get. It's like a brand new first time release in a way. It's been nearly 40 years since it's been out. The old Hollywood Bowl that I showed from '77 was never officially, I don't think, released on CD. Maybe somebody will show me in Japan or some other country. I don't know. But in the States and the UK, I don't think so. But so this is really like almost a brand new thing for fans to gobble up, and I really hope that a lot of people are going to do that. I hope they're going to buy this, and hope it does well. Again, I'll try to make a video at some point on the movie. I don't know at this point if I'm going to get to the theater to see it, or if I'm going to wind up having to wait for home video. But either way, I'm excited about that too. I've heard some negative things about it, so I got a lot of reservations about the film. But what else is there? The last minute items here. I think I covered everything already faster than I thought I was going to do. No, that's about it. Get out there, take a chance on this. They really rock on here, and the Beatles really are great. And you get the feeling that's preserved of the craziness of the concert. That's what I like about it the best. I'm so glad the screams are included and intact. Maybe reduced a little bit from what they were in '77, but they're still there, and it's important to have them there. You know, you have to have the feel of you're at a show, you know. I was listening with my friend in the car to this. He loves the Beatles, and I said, what did you think? He said, well, I could have done without the screams. So, maybe they're not for everybody. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody.